Hello, everyone. I can't even remember. This is probably the first time I can't remember. I think it's either week 11 or 10 or 11 already. So, been going all summer here so far with the midweek live stream. So, I hope you're all doing well. Looks like everything works. If you just want to let me know the sound is good, I'd appreciate that. Looks like some of you have already been chatting before we started this. So, I'll look forward to looking through all that once this is finished. I'll jump right into it. I'll share with you a major thrift store find just happened today, but there is a catch to that. I'll share with you another major purchase that just happened recently. And then, unfortunately, there is some bad news to share with you as well, depending on how you look at it. So, this should be an interesting live stream. But I look forward to sharing some of the updates with you and seeing some of your comments. And as always, like I said, make sure the sound is okay and the video is okay. It looks like the streaming was working pretty well before I started this, so shouldn't have any issues on that end. Once in a while, there's an issue with the microphone with the dog or something going on, but he's sitting right down here. You'll probably see him throughout this as well. I didn't really ask for it this week, but I don't have any questions from you as far as things to address. So if you happen to think of some questions to keep this live stream going, please put them in the comments. And if I happen to overlook them, just keep asking until I catch the question there. So thank you for letting me know that the sound is good. And I always appreciate seeing in your comments as well where you're watching from. And I'll share more on that in a moment. That'll make sense a little bit more as I share some details with you. Excellent. So, first of all, the major thrift store find. The catch, first of all, is that yes, I did find an item in the thrift store. However, the item happened to be in someone else's cart just a few minutes before I got to the thrift store today. I've not seen one of these in the thrift store before, but if you're familiar with the Lane Acclaim furniture, this was probably one of the most unique pieces from the Lane Acclaim line. It was the guitar pick table with the dovetail inlay. That's the Lane Acclaim design. If you watched my channel for a while, you're very familiar with it, I'm sure. Unfortunately, I spotted it from across the store in someone else's cart. I'm happy that she found it. It was $9 in the thrift store. And typically, I probably would have kept it to pair with the other one that I have. But if I had bought it, I probably would have kept it. But they do sell for between $400 and $500 here. So that would have been a nice little $9 find in the thrift store today. But like I said, I'm happy for someone else to have found it. I've found my share of nice items in the thrift stores over the years. So I'll jump. This is the first question that I'm seeing. Do I have to sand a pine dresser with no paint before I do paint it? No, but for something like that, pine is very porous compared to a lot of hardwood. So it's a porous softwood for the most part. So you probably at least want to prime it before you sand it. So I would try like basic Zinsser primer or like 123 primer from a big box store. You could either spray it on or roll it on depending on the shape of the dresser, but apply a coat of primer, and then you probably want to just scuff sand that so it's a nice smooth surface before applying your paint. I would probably scuff sand it with 150 grit sandpaper. Just make sure it's a nice smooth finish, and then you'll likely have to paint 2 coats of paint. So the first one will go on, depending on the color over the white primer, you might, not get full coverage, but by the second coat, that piece should really come alive. And of course, with the coat of paint, you'll also want to add a protective paint. If it's something that's going to get, like a dresser that's going to get a lot of traffic, then you'll probably want to just go with a water-based polyurethane that can handle high traffic. Otherwise, there's probably a million different products under different names if you're looking at the different chalk paints or milk paints or, well, I think you know what I mean. Anyway, all these different paint companies have different names for basically water-based polyurethane. So, yeah, I always smile when I see people watching from Europe because I know it's probably middle of the night there, but I appreciate you joining. Scuff sand, yes, I believe I just answered that. Scuff sand, typically if you're painting something, scuff sand the piece with 150 grit at least. And then when you apply the primer, depending on how you apply it, with a roller, it should be pretty smooth. But if you're applying it with a brush, then you'll want to scuff sand that as well before you brush or roll or spray on the paint. And then just keep, once you have one coat of paint on, probably scuff sand that with 220 grit or something even finer, and just make sure it's nice and smooth. But you should have pretty good results from that. Good. So, yeah, that was the catch to the major thrift store find. Like I said, unfortunately, I missed out on that one just by a few minutes, but that's okay. Asking the questions here. I'm also going to discuss some of the project updates. We got a dog tripping on some cords already here. I did a major clean out again of the shop this last week, and I sold 3 different large furniture pieces out of here that I was using for storage and a couple of other things. So I'm slowly making even more space here in the shop. So I have the entire center section of the shop open now for projects. It's really helped. So that's kind of been a relief. Been in the plans for quite a while, but it is hard to part with certain furniture pieces, especially because all of them had stuff in there for storage, so you have to find somewhere else to store them. All right, so for the project updates, actually I wasn't planning this, but for the month of July, just behind the camera here is already one finished project that I just have to finish editing for this weekend's video. But I'm excited about that one. It's something that I don't think I've done on the channel before, and so I'm excited to share that one. I've also tried different techniques with that one that I've not done before. So I'm very pleased with that. I just need the sponsor approval for that, but it should be out this weekend, and I'm really not sure when to put that video out, because here in the US it is 4th of July on Friday, I believe. So June, well, typically the entire summer, but mostly June into July, for a content creator on YouTube, that's typically the time when there's the least amount of video views, obviously because the weather's nice across the country, and people are outside doing stuff, grilling out at this time of night, or on vacation, or just doing stuff outside. So I expect lower views. July should start picking up again based on the last few years looking at analytics. So I still hesitate whether to put a video out on a holiday or whether to wait till Saturday or Sunday. We'll see, but there should be a video out. And what I was saying was, I wasn't planning for it, but I believe that July is going to be mostly Art Deco pieces. I haven't done many Art Deco pieces in the last year, and it's one of my favorite styles, and the 20s, 30s, one of my favorite eras for furniture in general. So I have 3 other Art Deco pieces lined up to be working on, so I might just make July a whole month of Art Deco stuff. So, do you prefer a way to bring your attention to questions? I mean, just keep asking the questions, because once I get on a roll here of chatting, or the dog's a little bit distracting as well, I can easily overlook the comments there. So just keep asking your questions however you wish to ask, and I hope to get to it eventually. Otherwise, if other people are seeing that I'm overlooking it, just ask the same question on behalf of the other person. Yeah, it wasn't really the plan, but Art Deco month, I'm kind of excited about maybe making that happen, but I also have a few others, believe it or not, and there's only a few of you watching in here, but this watchmaker's cabinet or bench that I bought a few weeks ago, I'm partway through restoring that. I'm fixing all the broken pieces on it, so I'd like to add that in there because I've been using it almost every single day, so I want to make sure that's nice and ready to go for future projects. Yeah, I suppose you can hear all the squeaky toys in here tonight. He's got a lot more room to run around in here now that things are cleaned up. Do I ever sell my restorations? It's not very often. Either, I would say for the last couple of months, I've been restoring or refinishing antique dressers that really only have a value of a few $100s. And so either I donate them, give them to family members, friends, whatever it is. It just makes for better video content when I can find a painted piece and it's more of a dramatic transformation, if you will. However, I have refinished pieces. There's a valuable mid-century modern credenza that's sitting back here that's is more of a high-end piece that I just need to spend about 2 days refinishing. But yes, I am a vendor in a local antique store here. So I do sell furniture pieces, but if you were to go through my booth today, even a lot of the high-end pieces or the pieces that are sought after don't last long. So it's hard to keep that filled with good stuff, but will you be selling merch on Etsy again? Not in the near future. I kept the store, but it's not technically open, and the reason is I think I created that 4 or 5 years ago when I also started the YouTube channel. I kind of wanted a backup plan for like supplemental income, and it just happened to work out that I was able to make designs, for the channel as well. But at that time, I just really found that I spread myself too thin with trying to manage an online store. Even though it was print on demand from another company, it was hard to manage that with the YouTube stuff going on, with flipping more furniture for a profit because I wasn't making much money on YouTube. So there are many reasons, but I did keep it so that when the time comes, hopefully in the winter, I can kind of ramp that back up again and add some new stuff. Garage door is working great. It's amazing. I got so used to, because I work out here every day, I got so used to having to come out here and spend a few minutes to lift a heavy 30-year-old garage door up and down, and it was kind of takes the wind out of your sail right away in the morning before you even get started with the project. So to be able to come out here and press a button is amazing, and I upgraded with a little bit better insulation with this door as well. So it's, I'm able to keep it cooler in here and then hopefully warmer in the winter as well. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so you're new. So what did I do before this? I talk about it in a lot of videos, but I worked in healthcare as a paramedic for 18 years, mostly in Wisconsin and then some down in Florida as well. So I don't know if there was the rest of your question, but I'm seeing more here. Do you have a dream piece you want to restore or find? Yeah, so I was thinking of that because I get asked this question in just about every live stream. And I kept saying no for the last few weeks because I have a lot of the pieces that I always wanted. Library card catalog. I have 5 or 6 other small ones. A watchmaker's cabinet I was looking for a long time, and I found what I think is the perfect fit for the shop here. And then pieces throughout the house. But if I was watching something recently, I mentioned last week I discovered a new channel on YouTube called Art Deco Furniture. I really like how they explain the details of what they're doing, and I realized as they were restoring something, for a long time, I have really liked hey, come here. For a long time, I've really liked the Art Deco. Now he's just doing it to drive me crazy. The Art Deco bar cabinet, or the bar cart, not a bar cart, but I think you understand what I mean. The large cabinet's about the size of probably a lowboy dresser, but the middle section has mirrors and a light on the inside. I don't necessarily think I would use it as like a bar cabinet, but I just love all the details of the Art Deco furniture with the different inlays and all kinds of stuff. So I've been shopping around, and I'll share a little bit more about where I've been shopping around for one of those. That one's going to be put on hold for now. Yes, huge on geometric shapes, and as I've restoring this piece behind me here, this first Art Deco piece you'll see this weekend, there's really no risk involved with just changing up colors and adding more contrast to a piece of different wood species and things, and just you can kind of get really creative without worrying about being judged too much, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's the best paint remover, but it's the one that's the most accessible to me here. I mean, 5 minutes away to get to the store to pick it up anytime is the Clean Strip products, and it's the Clean Strip Premium Stripper. I don't use the sprayable version. I just use the normal version. It's probably it's almost $20 for 1 quart now. So I pay $50 and get a gallon of it, and that will typically get me through 2 or 3 projects that are painted with several coats of paint. So the best one, if you're in Canada, I believe other people have shown. I just mentioned getting rid of the most annoying toy, but then he found this one, which is a little bit more annoying than the first. He loves them, and I don't mind them, but it might be a little bit noisy for a live stream here. Circa 1851, is it? Might be available in Canada. Most of the products now they're making without the methylene chloride, which is one of the ingredients that makes it very effective. So it's a gamble, but I still like the Clean Strip Premium Stripper products. It works for what I'm doing. So if you're doing just original finishes like lacquer, then QCS, the eco-friendly QCS, is amazing. Gary's a friend of mine in the business, and I love using those products. It's very user-friendly, it's effective, and it's easy cleanup. So you might try, if you're just doing a lacquer or shellac or something, try the QCS finish remover. And then in any of my videos, I also have a link in there for a discount, a 10% discount. I flip old dining room chairs. Oh, that's pretty brave, because I haven't done dining room chairs in a long time. That's probably the one thing I enjoy the least, is all the details on any kind of chairs. Even this rocking chair I'm sitting in was painted blue, and I think it took 2 days just to get the old finish off. And I'm talking about 7 or 8 hour days back and forth of just all the detailed areas, the spindles and the backrest and everything. So chairs are the worst. Even when people are looking for quotes on someone else to refinish it, there's a lot of refinishers that won't do chairs anymore these days. It's hard to make money refinishing chairs, unless of course you're finding like the mid-century style where you're able to do a few hours of work and flip them for a profit. But I actually don't mind. Well, I mean, the sanding part, I was thinking about that the other day. I was sanding this piece. I actually realized that if there's some, if I have some good music on or something, and I get to the point where all of the paint or the old finish is removed, I don't mind doing several hours of hand sanding. It's mindless work, and to me, it's where you start finally seeing the progress. Once the paint's gone, you start seeing like this come to life as you sand it back to the raw wood. So, how much of coat is background? Do you know? Just curious, as this breed is rare to find. Yes, very rare to find in a shelter. I had it on my mind for about a year and a half for this specific breed, an Australian Shepherd, and had no idea that I'd end up finding one in a shelter. Just worked out, decided to go that one day, and he was being walked outside, and there were easily, it's a large shelter, and there were easily 50 other dogs in there, if not more, and he was the one being walked outside, and somebody already had a hold on him, and he didn't. It was the other dogs, but they brought their dogs to meet him, and the dogs didn't care for him, so I was next in line, and they called me the next day and said he's available. So he's been great. I've had him for about 7 or 8 months now, and 7 months, and about 4 years old. That's about all I know, other than his paperwork is he doesn't have papers, but apparently he is purebred. A lot of people say they see like a Burmese mountain dog in him, but I think it's the fact that he's a male, and the male Australians have like a thicker coat here, and his is all white, so which is nice, because when he goes out at night I can see him in the backyard all the way across the yard because of this white chest here, so I kind of know where he is at all times. But yeah, when I first got him, he apparently had some behavioral issues where he just in public he just was very protective of his owner and would bark at people or kind of lunge at people, but he's done well since. I had him at a park yesterday where there were probably, I don't know, at least 100, 150 people there, other dogs there, and just getting him used to it, he does fine. So he just got to know who his people are, and I think when he senses danger, he just gets a little bit protective, but otherwise he's been great. Yeah, he was a good thing for me, so most of the time he loves being out here in the shop versus being in the house. As long as I'm not working with chemicals or stirring up a lot of dust while I'm sanding or something, he'll just lay on the floor over here in the corner and just watch what I'm doing. So how much grooming do I have to do? Well, I got him in January, and actually yesterday was the first day that I gave him a bath, and what that entails is just, it was probably 85 degrees out here, so he liked the cold water coming from the garden hose and just rinsed him down in the driveway and then shampooed him and gave him a bath, so he's nice and soft now, but he doesn't require a lot of maintenance. Just clipping his nails and giving him a bath every once in a while. So I tried to call for like a grooming service, and they don't take, the one with the highest reviews, they don't take any new clients. So I'm still shopping around. Oh, you know what? I get to chatting already too long here. I haven't even opened anything. So there are 6 packages that arrived in the mail this week. I had to make sure, first of all, there wasn't anything that I ordered, and then also I was hoping that it wasn't something I'd be able to use in the project this week. Otherwise, I'd just been saving it. But these are all Amazon packages. And typically, I'm sure it's from most of you, unless it's something I forgot that I ordered. I don't go to Virginia anymore, but yes, I used to take him back and forth on trips to Virginia, so he didn't seem to mind a 13-hour road trip. We'd stop every 2 hours, and I'd let him out and run around. So this one, so the way it works with, like, and I'm not promoting this, I just want you to understand the way it works is usually you get an Amazon receipt, and then something saying what item it is, and then there's a little personalized note if someone should choose to write it. It says, "Enjoy your gift, love your videos, so caring and thoughtful." And this is from Thomas S. Oh, good. Now as I open everything, I'm going to say, oh, I could really use this, because that's the purpose of an Amazon wish list, is to add all the items that I've been needing in the shop here. So this is just a brush that I'll use for, I'm finally due for a nicer brush for applying the shellac that I've been making. So this will be a great brush for that. So thank you, Thomas. And by the way, some of these showed up all on the same day, so sometimes it might just be one person bought 4 or 5 different things. So if I don't label these right away, I'll forget when it comes time to using something. I'll forget who sent it. Hopefully I didn't overlook any of your questions so far, but continue to ask if I've missed something. Time is flying here, because I realized there's still 2 other major things I need to share with you. One good, one bad, but oh, perfect. Same thing. I could never have enough of this. And this is 80 grit, which is great for 80 grit 5-inch sanding disc. So it's great for the orbital sander for that first sanding, usually after you remove most of the paint from a piece. So I always typically have 120, 150, 180 on hand, but I'm always looking for the 80 grit. So this is going to be perfect. And this one, I'll leave it in the bag so I don't have to. Oh, yep. See, I figure it was the same. This is also from Thomas, so thank you, Thomas. They all showed up on the same day, so they might all be from Thomas. You never know. I'll open one more and then share something else with you here. And mostly I'm sharing it with you because I need some feedback from you. Yes, I always get that comment, the backwards camera. This is my right hand. So it does, everybody says, oh, I'm left-handed as well. I said, no, not me. Oh, another good thing, because I just bought, this is from Thomas as well, I just bought another lamp. And I like, if you can see here, most of the lamps or any of the lights that I have in the shop, I like the ambient lighting with more of the, well, they're new, but the vintage looking bulbs. So these Edison bulbs, so this is going to be great. It's a 60 watt, just kind of a low dim here. Nice lighting I like for the shop here with all this vintage furniture. So another one from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. So if you've been watching for a while, then you probably know that I sort of, in a joking manner, I sort of mentioned something about in the future here, in the next few months, what the plans were, and having a certain wish list. If you remember me sharing that in a video, well, one of those was checked off yesterday. I purchased a new vehicle, a new truck for the business. So it's a used vehicle, but new to me, and very much it's been needed for a while for the business as things grow. So I'm very excited about that. No reason to really share too many details beyond that, except the twist is that um, the vehicle or the truck is out west, and by out west I mean Wyoming, Montana, Colorado region. So I'll be going out there. I bought a plane ticket yesterday as well, and I'll be going out there in a couple weeks to pick up the truck. So I'm very excited about that. But now I've given myself a couple of weeks to sort of plan out. I think I'll probably spend some time out west there, like I said, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana area. I've been there several times, so I've gone to Yellowstone, Glacier, Banff, Jasper, Grand Canyon, Zion, all those places. So going there once doesn't mean you've seen it all by any means, but still very excited about the trip. I'm excited to get back out to that area, especially in prime season where the weather's nice and doesn't appear to be, as far as the news so far, that there are too many wildfires going on in some of those national parks. So I'm excited. I haven't really decided where to go to yet, but I'm starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and that'll be really nice to have a new truck here for the business. I'm just gonna overlook your question, Don. I'll just say no, and if people are watching the comments, they'll know what I mean. But no, I mean, you got to check one thing off of the wish list at a time, and a truck was a big thing. So I think it would have certainly been a miracle if both of those had been in the same day. But here's to hoping. Coda's not going to go with me. I think it's, first of all, it'd be a little tricky because I'm flying out somewhere to drive a truck back. So it'd be difficult to run him through the airport, especially because he's a rescue dog and I don't really know his behavioral issues in the airport or on a flight or anything like that. Plus, then we're talking about if it was a straight drive home, it's going to be at least 22-hour drive home. So even if I break that up, it's not really fair to him to have to ride that much. And same thing with trying to get in and out of places. I just it's a bit much. So he loves the nieces and nephews, and they're going to watch him. So he'll probably have more fun while I'm gone, to be honest. Yes, he's staying. Yes, he's staying with his favorite uncle. But I did mention specifically the niece and nephew that he enjoys being around. So, thank you, Jody. I appreciate that comment. Still enjoying your comments here. I am keeping the as far as that wish list goes. I am keeping the old truck, and it's just it didn't have much value as far as trade in or resale, and I didn't even try that option because I think it'll make for a nice farm truck one day if the plans go well here in I don't know, in the next year, 2 years, whatever it is. It'll make for a good farm truck. So what vintage furniture do you hate working on, and what kind of wood is the worst to work on? So I just refinished an antique dresser that was chestnut, and that's very coarse, and it was difficult to sand down. Not difficult, but it was a little more challenging than something else, another hardwood. So chestnut was difficult to work with. I don't work a lot with like grain fillers. So if you're working with something like oak, where the grain is coarse, then a lot of people will use a filler so that it's a nice flat surface when you apply your finishes like shellac or lacquer or whatever it is. So and I was just researching it today for finishing some of these oak pieces. I may eventually, if I'm going to do like a French polish or something, I'll probably need some kind of wood filler. My least favorite projects to work on, I mentioned, it's not necessarily the style or the era. It's more to do with dining room chairs, to be honest. Because if it's going to be a set, it's going to be at least 4 chairs, and a lot of the old stuff has more like 6 chairs. So it's a lot of work. What is the hardest part about refinishing dark stained mahogany? I've not had an issue with mahogany. I've worked with it quite a few times. Um, I've found because the stuff that I've worked on, it kind of it has more of a red color to it, which I'm not a huge fan of. And so when I go to stain mahogany, it's always a gamble, like trying different stains. I'm not familiar yet with what I like that works. It took me a while, even working on a piece here that I have. It took me a while when I was working with walnut to figure out what stains I actually liked on walnut. And a lot of times I would use something, for part of this, I used a hard wax oil, which was just a natural finish for the walnut. So I hope that answers that. I think you just need to, a lot of times on the side of a dresser, if it's also mahogany, just on the bottom of the dresser in the corner, just try 2 or 3 different stains, and you'll be able to sand that back. You'll never see it. So try a few different stains until you get the color that you're looking for. But the sanding process should be the same. Usually 100 grit, 120 grit, 150 grit, 180 grit, up to 220 about that for staining. So I don't think I've actually worked with a lot of expensive. Well, first of all, because I'm not much of a builder or a woodworker, I don't need to purchase lumber for projects. So I just end up working with whatever the piece is, and a lot of times I don't know because they are covered in paint. So regarding the price, it has, for me, it's more to do with the subject matter. If it's a larger credenza, it's going to be more expensive. If it's an antique dresser, I can probably get it in the thrift store for $5 or $10. So I don't. I'm not the person to really know the difference in prices between white oak, red oak, walnut, anything like that. I don't even remember recently working with anything that was exotic. Other than, I guess, here, what you might consider to be exotic would be finding teak pieces or something like that, but it's pretty common here. If you asked another question, I probably overlooked it here, but keep asking it. I feel like I've been talking a lot tonight, maybe too fast, but your questions have been good, and another. Sorry for the noise in the microphone. Oh wow, this is 2 rolls. I only recently started using rolls of steel wool, and it's usually like number 2 steel wool that works the best, pulling off pieces and wiping down. Once the chemical stripper is applied to a dresser to peel the paint off, and I can scrape off most of the paint, then this is just great for scrubbing off the excess and then cleaning the piece. So I use a lot of this. So I'm glad there's 2 rolls in here. It's great because last time I think Coda had 3 out of the 4 packages. They were all toys for him, so he's looking at me. Looks to be a little jealous here. Also from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. Says keep up the great work. Thank you. Appreciate that, Thomas. There's 2 more to open. I think I know what they are. Thank you for that comment, Valerie. I did see that. I appreciate it. The worst furniture injury. Oh, that's a good story, actually. Um, this was back when I was more of a reseller, so I was picking a lot more stuff off of Facebook Marketplace or right off the curb if I knew there was value to it. Well, it was the middle of winter. I mean, it was cold, probably 10 degrees Fahrenheit here. I was driving down out of my neighborhood and somebody had an old barber's chair. If you know what I'm talking about, you know how heavy those are from the 1950s, 60s. All intact, really nice chair. Probably had a resale value of at least $500 in this area. And so I thought I was going to be able to, manage to get that off the curb up into the truck. But I leaned it against the tailgate. I went down, got down and started to lift, and I felt a pop in my back and immediately got super dizzy and just about passed out there. And I got in the truck. I mean, I'm talking about 10 degrees, and I was just pouring down sweat, and I knew I had done something wrong. It took me probably 4 or 5 months to recover from that. Thankfully, no permanent damage as far as I'm aware of, and I feel like I've recovered 100%. But yeah, even trying proper lifting techniques, I mean, you push yourself, to the limit sometimes doing this. But since then, I mean, if you've seen in the last few years, that was kind of what pushed me to really get a couple of these hydraulic lift carts that are probably $200 to $300. I got one online and one at Harbor Freight. So for $200, a hydraulic lift cart that goes up to the tailgate of the truck, and then I just drop it down. It's been a game changer. Yeah, there's a few times trying to lift this heavy 30-year-old garage door by hand that I've strained my back a few times as well. So that was a nice upgrade to finally get a new one. Do I use steel wool to clean up varnish pieces before refinishing? It depends on where you're at in the process. I do, if I'm stripping an old finish off, yes, once I scrape most of the old finish off, then I'll use that to scrub what's left. And then sometimes I'll use a fine steel wool in between layers of like shellac to smooth it out. Um, but with that method, sometimes you do have the little, steel fibers that can be left on there. So you just have to either have a nice air compressor to blow that off, or just use a brush or something. Do you need steel wool to clean up? Okay, I read that one already. So what is my favorite piece that you have in your collection? It's constantly changing, to be honest. I think some of the favorite pieces, I can't think of anything offhand, but I would say some of the favorite pieces have little to no monetary value, but are sentimental pieces that came from family members or, that I inherited. But as far as the other pieces go, most of them are behind me. This one's not, but I've been using this watchmaker's cabinet all the time already in the last few weeks, so just about every day here in the shop. All the library card catalogs, those are some of my favorites. And then there's a flat file here that's going to get refinished very soon now. So I like a lot more of the industrial, or the stuff from the, more of the peak of the industrial revolution here in the US, which was probably the peak was probably in the teens or 1920s, I would say, sometimes in the 30s. But some of these, I mean, this one is probably from the late 1800s. So how many more rooms do you have to update? Actually, they're pretty much all done. There's a little bit of work to the master bedroom, but I did remodel that 8 years ago. There's just some changes I want to make with that, but all done with those. The basement's all cleared out. The bedrooms are cleared out. There is one bathroom that needs a complete makeover. That'll probably be a couple $1,000s for everything with that. But once that's done, garage is all complete here. Done a lot of cleanup around the house, so getting close to the finish line here. I haven't made the decision as far as, where I'm going to go next or when that's going to be, but, I don't want to make that decision last minute and then have all this work to do. So it's been a relief to get all this stuff done. I know I haven't told you the bad news yet. I'll save that for a minute here. Let me look at the rest of the list. Two more projects coming up. This next video is an Art Deco piece. And then there's a purple Art Deco waterfall dresser, a low boy that's sitting there. That's probably, I started on it today, but I don't know if that'll be the next one for this next week or not. And then I have Coda's knocking his head against the tripod there. Then there's also, I've had this in my storage for 3 years. I'm going to finally complete this one. There's a tall green Art Deco waterfall dresser that I found on the curb, like I said, probably 3 years ago now. That one has quite a story to it. And then there's a really high-end Art Deco tall boy dresser that I've been using for probably 2 years now, but it does need to be refinished. I think that one has some value to it. whoever said they'd rather do dishes by hand, I'm the same way. I usually, because I live by myself, usually if I finish something, I just bring it right to the kitchen and scrub off one plate, and that's it. Based on the shape, I think I know what these are, but I don't think I've ever had them. Yeah, so this is interesting. This is great. I got... This one is... Your videos are very enjoyable, from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. I imagine that these were all from same person because they showed up same day, but this is great. These are sanding sheets. There's a book that I show often from a friend of mine, Aaron Moore, and he's very detailed with how he, all the refinishing process. He's been refinishing for 20 years, and he swears by this brand of sanding sheets. And I've been using a few hand sanders that require cutting up sheets like this. So this is going to be great. I'm looking forward to actually trying this. He said it's so much better than what you find in most of the big box stores. So I'm really excited for that. I'm assuming this is the same thing. Yeah, this is, oh, okay, perfect. Same thing. Keep up the great work. I love your patience and admire your tenacity and excellence in your furniture restoration. Thomas. So, thank you, Thomas, for all of these items. This is just 150 grit versus the 220 that's here. So, I'll probably break these out in the next couple of days just to try them out and compare to what I'm used to. I'm certain that it's going to be an upgrade, so I'm excited about that. Well, I mean, yes, part of the bad news was that that the truck was that far away, but I think it's actually going to be a blessing in disguise, to be honest. I mean, um, I was thinking I was going to find, because I was looking for a very specific version of vehicle that I needed, and there were only a handful of them around the entire country. And so I was thinking I was going to have to go out to California or probably down to Florida or Texas. And I didn't have too much interest in going to any of those places. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It would have been a long drive home, and I've been to all of those places many times. So the fact that it's going to be out in the Rockies, I'm pretty excited about that in the middle of summer here. Sharpening for... Someone's asking about the tools that I use for sharpening chisels. I'll show that really quick here, because I just cleaned and organized this stuff today so it's easily accessible. If you're gonna Google it or look on Amazon, just look for honing guide. It's nice that you can just you can just open this up for the width of your chisel, and then it's got the rollers on here, and then it's this piece here. I'm not gonna show all the details because I've done this many times, but this two-part setup here is just gonna allow you to get the perfect angle. Usually you're trying to sharpen chisels at exactly what most people, I think, do 25 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to get you perfection, or going to be very precise for that method. But for people who have been doing it for years, they just do it by hand. They just kind of go by the feel of it after doing it for so long. But great question. I'm sorry I didn't show that in more detail, but I'd end up rambling on and on about sharpening a chisel. But just look for honing guide, and then if you're going to buy a product like that on Amazon or something else, just go through the reviews and make sure people are happy with the product. The driving playlist. I don't really have one, to be honest. It'll probably be a lot of stuff that I remember listening to 20 or 30 years ago, when I did a lot more, not 20 years ago, but 15, 20 years ago maybe, that I did a lot more driving back and forth from Florida or wherever I was going at the time. Probably a lot more stuff, from the 90s. There's only a handful of states I've not been to. Washington State, Hawaii, and I think New Mexico. Maybe I've been to New Mexico, but it was just probably just somewhere around the Grand Canyon. May have crossed over the border or something in that area. Um, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, and there might be, oh, Alaska. Yeah, so the ones that you'd probably expect that are harder to get to, but I'll slowly knock those out hopefully in the next few years. I didn't say exactly where I'm getting the truck. I'm kind of, and I'm not really necessarily going to say, when I'm getting it either. And that's just, I think you probably understand why I wouldn't share too many details. But however, if you're somewhere out in that area and you have suggestions of things that I could do or people I could go see or stores I could go see, um, it's in the region within a few hours of like the Yellowstone area, so that should kind of narrow it down. Yeah, keeping a little bit of privacy. I mean, 99% of people respect, the privacy thing, but I have had people pull up in my driveway before and introduce themselves, and it was a little bit interesting because I work with the garage door open. I don't usually, when I'm filming, I try to never have anything in there that would, indicate my address or put, or you'd see across the road at the street sign or something like that. But not really for any specific reason other than even opening packages. If I can avoid showing a home address or something, it's not that difficult for someone who's smart enough to do some information on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. But if I can do my part to keep some privacy, I do it. Just reading through some more of your comments. I think it was when somebody, a couple of times when people pulled up in the driveway or something and recognized the area. I think they had really good intentions. It probably would be a much different if I was a single female working out of a shop or something, or um, there's not much risk on my end. I just think it's, some people, I'm not sure they think through that sometimes before they just show up somewhere, but that's fine. Yeah, I see all these comments about the fireworks. We have neighbors that, light off a half stick of dynamite in the middle of the night, typically starting on the 2nd or 3rd of July. They've already done it this year, so I think they were practicing last weekend. But yeah, there will be plenty of fireworks here in the neighborhood. I may go to a 4th of July parade. I don't know if you've been talking about your plans in the comments, but if some of you have traditions or something around the 4th of July, should be perfect since it's on a Friday and should be an extended weekend for most people. So it is one of my favorite holidays. I'm not sure if I'll get to a parade or not this year. All right, so let's see if there's what else there is here. All the packages are open. I shared the project updates. We're about 48 minutes in. If you have any questions at this point, were you practical at school, etc.? Um, I think that, let me say, I think for the most part, I was an average student at just about everything. I could easily adapt to whatever it was. I was very much, my favorite topics were typically history, science, and math. Um, and it's great how that's worked out with what's going on now. But working in healthcare for 18 years, there wasn't much room in a career like that for expressing creativity. So this has been a nice creative outlet for the last 4 years to really just be able to tell stories of other people's stories and show the work and really hone in on certain filming techniques and editing techniques to express some of the creativity as well. I hope that answered your question. Our school did not have any kind of wood shop or anything like that, but um, my understanding is that a lot of that is coming back. Mostly I watch a lot of the podcasts from Mike Rowe's channel, and he's a big proponent of that and has a lot of scholarships for that kind of stuff. So they're trying to bring a lot of woodworking stuff back to high schools around the country here. So One piece of advice to someone new to furniture restoration, that one thing that you wish you knew when you were starting out. Um, that's actually an easy one, and it's like one of the most cliche statements. Um, but I say just don't be a quitter. There's no other way to say it, to be honest. There's so many times where I felt like, oh, this YouTube thing didn't work out 4 months in. I'm not making money yet, or I'm not selling these pieces for as much as I thought. But just like, if I don't know if it was my stubbornness or what it was, but I just kept going and pushing it to a point where sponsors started to come along, brand deals, YouTube started paying, and man, just to get over that, get over that hill and that part of it, those challenges to start with. A lot of people quit before they realize, their full potential. So, I mean, you might fail on 10 furniture pieces before you understand something. I mean, I'm 4 years into this, and some of the techniques I was using on this last piece, I've never tried. I've seen it in videos, I've read it in books, and I was always intimidated. And then I just did it, and I said, well, why did it take me 4 years to do this? This is amazing. It's more of a factory finish, it's professional look. I could have started doing this 4 years ago, but it's a growth process, and just don't quit before you realize your own potential. That's the advice I would give you, and that still applies to me every day. There's still a sign sitting up right behind the camera here on the wall that someone else wrote down. I heard from someone else a year ago, almost to the date. A year ago, it says, basically, you don't know what the outcome's going to be unless you quit. Then you definitely know. So, yeah, I could not have imagined I'd be meeting all these goals and deadlines that I set for myself 3 or 4 months ago. Even a big one yesterday. It was a year in planning to finally purchase a new vehicle for the business. So don't try and do everything all at once in the same week. Fail on a few pieces, burn through some veneer, learn how to repair the mistakes that you made, and most importantly, don't try and hide it. Fess up to your mistakes and be straightforward and tell people all the things you did wrong without being too critical of yourself. Why my printed pieces weren't accepting. Oh, well, you have to tell me why then your pieces weren't accepting paint, because either because you weren't priming them, or you're talking about sanding maybe. I appreciate all the comments usually saying like my stories set me apart from the channel or from other channels. I appreciate that, and what I try and focus on is bringing attention to other people's stories. It doesn't it doesn't require a lot to understand that a lot of the things that I talk about certainly have some kind of are some of my own experiences, of course, but most of the stories behind these furniture pieces, I try and find out as much as I can when I'm buying it from another private seller. Try and find as much of the story as I can and share someone else's story. Um, yeah, try sanding then. If that, I appreciate you mentioning that. Try sanding, and it should just be nice and smooth to touch, and you'll have to add probably 2 coats of paint. That's another thing. It looks like Sherry. I would buy a book from you. Please consider it as an extension of your storytelling. I'm trying to. This is also in the plans, but this is in the 5-year plan, meaning sometime between now and the next 5 years, putting together a book. And the reason is because I have hundreds, if not thousands, of photos that would help with a book like that. I'm trying to determine the right approach for a book. Neighbor just started mowing his lawn, so that might be interesting. What kind of book to write? I don't necessarily think for my own self, if it's part of my own legacy, I don't want it to just be a 200-page book of a how-to. I want to somehow incorporate the stories or some of my own history or some of the lessons learned that can apply to the reader, that the reader can relate to. So if you have ideas, even comments here of what kind of book that, I know most of you would probably say, well, you purchase a book because you support my channel, but if you were just to buy a furniture book, what would interest you? More storytelling, more of the how-to part, a mix of both. So I know, and that's why I talk a lot in the videos about, why I'm doing something. I'm talking about um, the lesson of second chances, and it's all time stamped with the video. And the reason I say that is because when I look back at some point to write a book, I know that in July of 2025, this video, and I'm talking about second chances and this and this and this, um, it's gonna my thoughts should flow easily when I'm trying to write a chapter about it or something in a book, instead of trying to remember the last 5 years of my refinishing life. So that's why these topics are very specific at certain times, in my life. So catching up, and a lot of you are saying the storytelling, history of the piece along with a story. Yeah, I think it would be something like, if it was 150 or 200 pages, it would be um, multiple chapters, like a easily digestible chapter of 4 or 5 pages that would have, here's the here's the restoration piece, here's a few tips of what I did to refinish it, but also there's the story you're reading, and something you could probably read every night, 4 or 5 pages of one chapter. So I'm thinking of breaking it up that way already. Mix in both is what I'm seeing here. Oh yeah, where my pieces go. Sometimes it's hard to track down where a piece has gone. If I'm selling in the antique store, I don't often know who the buyer is. Um, I usually only meet the buyer if it's someone who's in, well, if it's someone who it's been gifted to in the family, or if someone bought it off Facebook and I know what they're going to do with it. But that's a great thing too. Yeah, that's what I want. I want someone, I want family down the road to be able to read something. If they're not interested in the furniture refinishing, if I have kids one day, I don't, they might be bored of a how-to book, but if they're able to read the stories along the way, and lessons that would apply to them 20, 30, 40 years down the road, that's what I'm looking for, something that has more than just refinishing value. I never thought of that, about people wanting me to make a book. I never thought 4 years ago about making a YouTube video about refinishing furniture. I didn't know much about refinishing furniture at all. I just had a passion for filming, and a lot of stuff I've never even shared with filming. I know somebody mentioned about sharing some of the journey about my trip. I do probably plan to film some stuff if there's some hikes or something, but it probably won't be its own video. It'll probably be incorporated in different projects, and getting balancing work and life, and there'll be some storytelling there, I'm sure, especially if I come across a grizzly while I'm hiking. But yeah, I think that's what I've appreciated about reading some of these other refinishing books that I bought, is I always appreciate when someone just gives their perspective on something, or their take on it. It's pretty bold. Um, that's how a lot of my videos have been. I know that sometimes talking about certain lessons in life is going to drive a certain crowd away who just wants to watch the restoration, but you got to be true to yourself. And I think that a lot more people can relate to it than I even imagined. I'm reading all of your comments, and I'll look back on it again, reading the comments about the book suggestions. So I appreciate that, and that's not in the near future. I mean, could be 3, 4 years down the road, and when we have old cold winters, could spend a lot of days inside doing that. So appreciate that comment. I'm going to wrap it up here soon. If you have a few more questions. So, I did say that there was some bad news. I think it's not really that bad. It's just I think that I've made the decision. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think I'm going to um, stop the live streams at least for the month of July, if not August. It might be once a month during these months. Um, it has not taken a lot out of me. I really enjoyed it, but what I find is that a lot of people are outside and still active during this time in the summer, and for good reason. Um, but also for me, with these big plans in the near future here in the next couple of weeks, I obviously won't be able to while I'm gone if it's 1 or 2 weeks the time that I'm gone. So I figured it's better just so that you're not finding out last minute that I should probably like this. I probably won't do another live stream for July unless there's some big news to share or something. Um, so yeah, it's not that I'm quitting the channel. I certainly don't want to be misleading or do anything regarding any kind of clickbait for videos. I've seen it before on YouTube of people saying I'm quitting or I'm leaving or they leave you hanging on something, but that's not the intention at all. And I've appreciated everybody being here. It's not even, I don't know if you call it a vacation for me or whatever it is, but um, I can just, this is a lot of times in the middle of the week, is even now in July when the weather's nice at night like this, and I have 3 or 4 more hours of work that can be done. So, um, yeah, I mean, you've been with me now for 11 weeks. Hard to believe it's 11 weeks already of this live stream. So I feel like um, going at this for a while, and it'll be back. It just might be once every month or so. I appreciate all the support with that. So hopefully that was less bad news than you thought. I don't think um, if you have like any very specific suggestions of things for me to do out west in that area, mostly like you know in within 5-6 hours of the Yellowstone area. Um, my email is available on the channel under the About Me section on my channel, so it is public. So send me an email or some way that we could be in contact that's not through YouTube video comments. It's hard for me to get to. I'm not able to keep up with those anymore these days, so I may overlook it. So try and send me an email or something if you have a strong suggestion of what I might do, what I might see or go. I'd appreciate that. Um, I don't think I have enough for any kind of like pop-up sales anywhere or anything like that. Usually I already know when I buy a piece or when I'm starting to work on it if it's going to be for a family member, if it's going to be for resale in the antique shop, or if it's a forever piece. And I think 75% of what I've been buying recently, those are all forever pieces at this point. Um, for what may eventually be a larger workshop out on a hobby farm or something. So you'll see in the next few videos, it's kind of like the shop slowly the transformation that's been happening here with getting rid of a lot of what's been sitting around here and making more space. So, let's see. There are a lot of thrift stores here, but I found in most big cities that I've been to around the country that they'll have more thrift stores. I mean, I don't think we have any more here than average. In a town here, I think of about 400,000 or so people. We have 15 or 20 thrift stores, and I only go to probably 4 or 5 of them regularly. So I think it's just that I go to them just about every day or every other day that I find some of the good finds. Um, the hardest part of doing YouTube, that's a great question. Um, I think it was getting to a point where the hardest part for me was um, taking the risk of like just when I first started YouTube and I was painting furniture and trying to follow all the trends because that's where I thought the success would be. The hardest part for me was really honing in on my specific niche or style or however you want to look at it. It was taking that risk and hoping that people would like that style. It was kind of going all in on I'm going to share stories. I'm going to start unpainting furniture and trying to restore stuff. Um, that was the hardest part now is just spending 8 to 10 hours a day in the shop every single day. You know, you have to balance it. I usually run errands for a few hours in the morning, and then I mow the lawn for a couple of hours today, and then work on furniture for 4 or 5 hours. So you need to break it up, and I think that applies to everyone. You know, you don't want to sacrifice everything and just go all in on work. It wouldn't matter. If I worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week here in the shop, I wouldn't care how much money the channel brought in or all the sponsors. It wouldn't matter. I'd be sacrificing all of my own, um, you know, all the other things that bring joy in life. So, I see your comment about the book, and I'll read back on that. But I appreciate the details of that about the photography and everything. I'm reading that now here. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's been long enough here. I wouldn't plan on a live stream for next week, or I'll just keep watching the community page. It's free to look at the community page where I post updates every week. I'll keep you updated in plenty of time when there's another live stream coming down the road here. It probably won't be until I get back from being out west, so it might even be the beginning of August. But if we do one or two a month, then there will be probably a lot to share. So um, I really appreciate that, Ramona. Thank you very, very much for that. And I'm seeing all this as well. Happy 4th of July, everyone. There will be a video out, but I hope more importantly that you have fun, you know, enjoy your time with family and the holidays and whatever your traditions are. So, all right, didn't see much of the dog, but he's sleeping over on the floor here for now. So I look forward to the video coming out for you this week and seeing your comments there. But thank you for joining me for all your support over the last 11 weeks here. And I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.